One New Year's resolution you should make is to never doubt Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, because the Packers, after being left for dead, I remember that Thursday night game against the Titans where they just looked awful, and Aaron Rodgers missed Sammy Watkins, he missed Alan Lazard. They were booing him at Lambeau Field. Not the team, him. They've turned it around since then. Titans haven't won a game since that night. The Packers are right back in the mix. Here he is after the Packers destroyed the Vikings yesterday 41-17, talking about all the non-believers out there. How dare you point out we stink when we stunk? Here's Rodgers getting a little slice of revenge pie.
I know not many people in that locker room, and definitely not many of you people, believe we'd be sitting here at 8-8 with control our own destiny going into Week 18. Pretty special.
You know, I always get, and this isn't, because people say, oh, you just hate Aaron Rodgers. First of all, I would like to say this. It looks like George Costanza stretched out the neck hole on the shirt that he was wearing at his postgame press conference. And he finally has ditched the black. Maybe he decided, I'm going to wear black until we get to 500, and then I'm going to wear my shirt, of which George Costanza stretched out the neck hole. But regardless, the all black is gone. The black robe is gone. The black hat is gone. There's some significance to all of that. Whatever it was, it's gone. He's no longer going to a funeral. The funeral is yours. Look, Myles, he's not going to escape this scrutiny from me. They would have been better than 500. They would have been better than 8-8 if he had bothered to show his appreciation for the $50 million per year he's now making from the Packers by showing up to help his young receivers get more comfortable sooner than when they finally did during the season. It's on him that they're not better than 8-8. And the louder he tries to act all huffy, oh, you didn't believe in us, I'll say I believed in you, and I would have believed in you a lot sooner if you'd have bothered to help your young receivers feel better about where they are and what they're doing by not being so aloof and standoffish and absent when you should have been there to help them feel more comfortable. So if Aaron's going to start this crap, I'm going to give it right back to him and turn it around on him. You'd be 12-4, 11-5, 10-6 right now if you'd have been there earlier for your teammates. Boom.
Well, okay. You done? I just want to make sure now, because you're.
I just want.
We good?
You know what? Let me say something else. We got a fancy coffee machine.
Sure.
We got an espresso machine. Our niece has got us this fancy coffee machine, and I've been drinking a lot of it, so I'm kind of wired. So that's my excuse. I usually don't have anything before the show. I had one. I'm feeling it. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. I mean, I think that we've said this a lot, and not to beat the dead horse of Matt Ryan, but it's just one of those things where if you look at Patrick Mahomes and you see what they are, and they're 13-3, and then you look at the Packers and where they are, and what were we saying throughout the offseason? Look, Patrick Mahomes brought all of his receivers to Texas, right? He was getting comfortable with them. And why are the Chiefs the way that they are? Well, because that's just what he did. And so when Aaron Rodgers is now saying like, oh man, all you guys didn't believe in us. Like, of course we didn't believe in you. You were 4-8. It's one of those things where players like to talk about, oh, the narrative this, the narrative that. But we're only talking about and reacting to what we see on the field. So if they had been playing better than a 4-8 team, then we would have said better things about them, right? I mean, even when they played the Bills and they were running the ball, and it looked like, okay, this is something that maybe they can start turning things around. And then they went out and they kept losing. And I was like, all right, well, maybe not. So, all we do is react to things that we see, and they've been playing a lot better. And now they do control their own outcome when it comes to the playoffs. So good for them, good for Aaron Rodgers. But it's not like we were saying things that weren't true about the Packers, not just from his standpoint, but also from a defensive standpoint, too. They were a bad defense. Joe Barry and that group has turned things around.
Yeah, I mean, they shredded the Vikings yesterday. Now, look, it was one of those games where a lot of the bounces of the ball went the Packers' way early, and it contributed to this avalanche that ultimately happened. But still, after the block punt early in the game, the defense stiffens and turns a presumed touchdown, into a field goal. That changes the vibe. And then they just started making things happen. The kick return for a touchdown right after that, 7-3. All of a sudden, feeling better about themselves. That changes everything. It should have been 7-0 Vikings, and then the kickoff return. You don't know when a kickoff return is going to pop. It pops. It goes. Just as people are saying, boy, Rich Bisaccia really helped the Green Bay Packers special teams thanks to the block punt. There goes the kickoff to the house, and then there was an interception return for a touchdown on a batted ball on 4th and short for the Vikings. It just felt like early on the Vikings were doing their damnedest to make it a game, but the Packers capitalized on stuff happens type plays, and it was 17-3 before you know it. And it just, again, the Vikings didn't give up, but they just couldn't get it going. And they couldn't get Justin Jefferson going. I got to give Jair Alexander credit. I thought he was poking the bear. He kept poking the bear. He's gritting in front of the bear. He's doing all sorts of stuff. And one catch for 15 yards, that was it for Justin Jefferson. Now, I do want to say this. They doubled Justin Jefferson a lot. There's the one where they hit the gritty, but you saw some help come over at the end. They doubled him as much as he's been doubled all year. They took him away. They committed the resources to shutting him down. But, at the same time, the Vikings couldn't get, and then there's a little problem there, slamming the helmet off and hitting the official. That's that you may get a letter from the league office over that one. But you know what? When you take away the best player on the field with double teams, you got to pivot to somebody else. You got to take advantage of that. That's on the Vikings offense. It's on the head coach, Kevin O'Connell. It's on the quarterback, Kirk Cousins, to not take advantage of the opening. It's necessarily there if you're going to commit extra resources to taking away one guy.
Well, right. But, shouldn't all teams do that? All teams, different teams are going to be more successful at that than others. But when Justin Jefferson is potentially going to set a receiving record, then that's what you need to do. You have to take him away in order to make the Vikings do something that they probably don't want to do, which is go away from him. It's not like they don't have other talented players. Adam Thielen's really talented. TJ Hawkinson has been great for them. Dalvin Cook is really good for them running the ball, and he can catch the ball. But when you only have one catch for 15 yards, then Jair Alexander, you gritty all over the field. I thought it was a little premature grittyation when you're doing that in the first quarter. But you know what? Jair Alexander backed it up. He did. And he said after the game that, some of his coaches weren't really happy about his comments during the week. But when you walk the walk after you talk the talk, man, you get to do whatever you want. That's a great job by him.
And look, the other reality is that they still haven't punched their ticket to the playoffs. It's feeling presumed that the Packers are going to get it done because all they have to do is win. It's amazing. At one point, when Steve Kornacki was on Football Night in America with the playoff percentages, the Packers had a 1% shot. And they've been threading the needle week after week, and things have been falling their way week after week. Even though Aaron Rodgers can get huffy now about the Packers getting back to 8-8, without a couple of collapses by the Seahawks and the Commanders, who are off the graphic now. They're done. They're dead. They lost at home to your Cleveland Browns on Sunday, and that put the fork in Ron Rivera's Commanders. Without those collapses, the Packers are done right now. So they needed help. They got help, and now all they have to do is help themselves against the Detroit Lions, the kneecap feasters who may be visiting Lambeau Field next Sunday night. We don't know the final game 272. We thought it was going to be Jaguars hosting the Titans for the AFC South. That's now the Saturday night game. Many believe the Sunday night game will be Lions at Packers, which becomes irrelevant to the Lions if the Seahawks beat the Rams earlier in the day, which, some would say, well, what's the motivation for the Lions at that point? Well, they still are kneecap biters, and they'd still like to finish the season on a high note, and they'd love to take out the Green Bay Packers if they could at Lambeau Field and knock them out of the playoffs. So there'll still be some motivation there, although not nearly as much if the Lions are still alive if the Rams somehow beat the Seahawks, which many people assume will be unlikely. So as it lines up right now, I think they're getting in. I think the Packers are getting in. And oh, by the way, as it currently sits, they'd have to go to San Francisco. And we've seen this movie a few times the past few years. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers going to San Francisco. It doesn't end well for the Packers. So all of this may be a prelude to the 49ers beating the Packers 42-10, but still the Packers are alive at a time when very few thought they would be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you got to credit them for sticking with it. Credit Matt LaFleur, who I think has done as good a job as anybody with that team, and making sure that they stay competitive. But it does feel, it feels weird to say all this about Aaron Rodgers based on the things that were going on with that team during this season, right? I mean, it's not like we were burying them for no reason. Aaron Rodgers looked bad. He was missing throws that he just hadn't missed before. He didn't show chemistry with his receivers. And that's just not necessarily something that we're used to seeing out of him, especially considering the chemistry that he and Devontae Adams had. So I think it's great now, probably for the league, that Aaron Rodgers has a chance to make it to the postseason. But even if they do make it to the postseason, who knows what kind of noise they're actually going to be able to make.
And what I said before the season, and I tweeted this within the last week or two, and people who I would assume are smarter than that, I mean, I know I'm going to get dragged when I tweet something like the Packers are more dangerous as a 7 seed than they are as a 1 seed. And you get people saying, it's always better to be the 1 seed. You're an idiot. Shut up. Delete your account. Like, come on, man. Understand the point. When you're the 1 seed, there's more pressure on you. There's a higher expectation. You're more likely to be tight. You're more likely to be nervous. You're more likely to lose sometimes than if you go in with the attitude of, we don't care. We're not supposed to be here. We're going to prove it to you. And if we don't, so what? We're supposed to lose anyway. And when have the Packers won the Super Bowl in the past 20 years? They've won it when they were the 6th seed, the last team in. They went on the road. They beat the Eagles. They blew out the Falcons, who were the number 1 seed and had everything to lose. They beat them like 48-20 on their own field on a Saturday night. And then they won at Chicago, and then they won the Super Bowl. What have we seen them do as the 1 seed? They haven't gotten to the Super Bowl as the 1 seed, and they've been the 1 seed at least 3 times in the past 10 years or so. Starting with 2011 when they were the reigning Super Bowl champions and got shredded by the Giants with that Hail Mary to Hakeem Nicks at the end of the half. So there is value if you can work it this way in just getting in. You develop a mindset that's very dangerous to the other teams in the playoff field. So yeah, I said it back in June or July. The Packers would be better off getting in as a low seed than going in with that weight of the world on their shoulders as a 1 seed. Because Aaron Rodgers has this thing about him when they're the 1 seed where he's all of a sudden more careful. He's more tenuous. He's more cautious about letting it rip. Maybe if they get in this year as the 7 seed, he goes to San Francisco, if that's where they go, and lets it rip. And that's good for everybody if that's what happens. That's the point I made back then. I made that point not long ago on Twitter, and I'm making it now. They're going to be better off in the playoffs as a low seed than a high seed because they're going to be more free in how they approach the game.
Maybe. I mean, I understand your point, but I think it's the way this team
is it better to play at home? Yes. Is it better to play at home? Yes.
Yes.
And if they can get home games in the playoffs this year, great, given where they are right now.
They can't.
But my point is, when you have this great wire-to-wire season, there's so much to lose when the playoffs finally come around that it becomes a burden. There's no burden on them if they get in as a 7 seed. That's the point. Psychologically, there's no burden on them to justify 13-3.
Right. Yes. It's a different kind of thing. I mean, we haven't seen them playing from this particular standpoint, right? With their backs kind of against the wall and totally free and easy or whatever you want to call it. It's like, okay, we have nothing to lose. We're going to go out there and play like this, since Matt LaFleur has been the head coach. And they've been 13-3, 13-3, 13-4, I think it was last year, right? So yes, this is a different way of playing for them. And now you may have a different outcome because you are playing with a different kind of attitude, right? You're not necessarily playing not to lose, which is, I think, the point that you're trying to make, right?
Right, exactly. And look, when I made that point, one of the points that people made who I would like to think are smarter than that, but maybe they aren't, was, and I'm going to do your thing here, no New Year's resolution to not do your thing. The entire team is different since 2010. Everyone's different. It's a different coaching staff. Well, it's the same quarterback. It's the same guy pulling the trigger on whether he's going to try to thread the needle 30 yards down the field or he's going to take the safer dump off short or he's going to hold the ball just a little bit too long and maybe get sacked. The guy who is running the show is the same as the guy who was running the show back in 2010 when they went on the road 3 times and won, which is what they're going to have to do this year if they get in. There is value in that. There's familiarity in that. There's a poetry in that. As Aaron Rodgers feels his career pulling into the station, he's going to think back to the year that established him as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. 2008, 2009, they got to the playoffs and lost in the wild card round in a crazy overtime game to the Cardinals. 2010 is when he came of age, when he became Aaron Rodgers in that playoff run. There's value in that. Going Back to the Future, a movie that you still continue to not be familiar with. So I think they will be potentially dangerous. Well, I'm sure it's on. It's on all the time somewhere. You just need to watch it. You had a couple of cross-country flights, and you continue to refuse to. And that's okay. If you want to deprive yourself of something that you would enjoy if you watched it, that's fine. That's your business, not mine. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.